Today we're going to talk about a book called Second Skin Unified. It's basically a book that's sort of like one of those video game stories. So you have a main character who starts off in a video game from the first book. Unified is actually book 3. And just for a little bit of a backstory, the main character, older gentleman, decides to use a character that he's used multiple times, Drea, in his other games that he played when he was younger. So he, creates her and inserts her into the game, and he's laying in the pod, and his consciousness is going to be in the game, and there's a glitch. And at first he doesn't think anything about it, except that he can't leave the game, and he can't get out. And come to find out, the gods, it's not a game. They're actually in another world. And so the gods of that world have erected a barrier preventing anyone from our world from getting in, except him. He got trapped. And so at this point, he decides that, well, his other body is obviously dead. He's not going to be able to go back. So he might as well make the best of it and accept who he is as Drea, as a woman. So now he's a woman who likes women because he was previously a man, right? And so now she, Drea Day is her name. She's a warden, and so she's got archery skills, and she's very Drea is one of those people that she's very quick to anger, and she calls it her darkness. In the third book, we find that she is now in her own realm. A old dwarven king and an old elven king had set up this realm for her, for the chosen one is basically what you have, what's the one who puts the amulet pieces together, which she did. And so her and her companions come upon this realm, and this elemental is summoned, and he starts building according to the plans the kings had left behind. And so Drea now has to kind of figure out how to navigate this, because her ultimate goal is to unite the continent and then attack the Darklands to bring peace to the continent. That's what she has been, feels strongly in her heart that she's going to do. And so there's a lot of building. I am not gonna lie. I slogged through it. It's not that it's terrible. It's just that half the time you're being told, oh, well, the garrison's being built like this, and we're gonna add this over here, and this is, and it's like, okay, well, that's great, but that, honestly, I felt the story could have done without that. I love the action in this story. I absolutely love it. The action is the best part of this entire series. Like, you get in there and there's fighting and shockwave arrows and explosions and swords, and they battle orcs, and the orcs have this huge campaign against them, and they come and attack them, and then the orcs get defeated, and then a little tribe of orcs that are all that's left come back and beg for mercy and beg to be killed, basically, because they can't go anywhere. They can't go back to their there is no tribe left, it's gone, and the other orc tribes are going to kill them. And Drea takes pity on them and takes them into her realm and accepts them as one of her people. And to show that she trusts them, she places one of them on her own personal guard. And I just thought that was amazing. But what we come to notice is that Drea is Centauri, and Centauris haven't been seen in about thousands of years, so no one remembers anything about Centauris. And so the problem you run into is that Drea made promises. She made promises to Tassie that she would be her only love, and that she would, put Tassie before everyone else, and that she would hide her other affairs because people need her, and Tassie has to understand that these people need her. And so she runs into the problem of trying to balance her, her love for Tassie and the promises she made with the things that she has to do as a Centauri, is basically the way she describes it. Ella is one of those people who needs her, and Ella you meet in the first book, and then she comes back, you see her again in this book, and Ella just needs her, and she has to heal her, and that's what she has to do. And then there's Venna, and Ella, okay, I get, like, Ella needs healing, and Tassie I understand, because Tassie and Drea are made for each other, but Venna is a married woman, and And the husband acts like it's not a big deal. Oh, you and Avena are such close friends. You need each other, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, such close friends? Is that really how you see? Do you really think that that's what this is? Like, it's just so frustrating because you're like, you want to like her. Like, you want to like Drea. You do. But at the same time, do you really trust somebody who is hooking up with, you know, another man's, like, a man's wife? Like, and they try to make it out like, oh, but this is her, you know, this is what she needs as a Centauri. Well, I'm sorry, but any person would be like, oh, whoa, look, you're married. I know that we're calling to each other, but until your husband is no more, it ain't gonna happen, girl. It ain't gonna happen. So that's a little annoying. Then they decide to invite other realms to their realm to see all of them working because they've got dwarves living there, elves, orcs, half orcs. Gerald shows up. Gerald was a half orc from the very first book who is a blacksmith, and they have, you know, like 3 or 4 blacksmiths at this point, and 2 of the blacksmiths actually end up falling in love. A dwarf and an elf end up falling in love with each other, and so they have these. So the first realm they invite is actually Broda's uncle's realm. Broda's the niece of the king. He's a dwarven king. So they invite him, he comes out, he takes a look, and he's like, yep, this is good, I like it, we're going to join. Then he invites the 3 other realms, mirrors that he has treaties with and arrangements with to come out. It's an elven realm, a halfling realm, and a human realm to come out, right? And of course, on top of all this at this time, there's another 5th realm, an elven realm, that is sending assassins to assassinate Drea because that particular elf king is very much, we're just going to call him racist. He doesn't like other races mingling with each other. He's very much a elf-only kind of person, and he doesn't like what Drea is doing with her realm, so he's sending assassin after assassin to try and kill her. Of course, they're not making it through. Most of them are dying because they swore a blood oath beforehand. They do manage to keep one alive, and she manages to give enough information without breaking the blood contract so she doesn't die. So these other realm leaders show up, and they're talking, and they all agree, yeah, this is a good idea, so we're going to work out a charter, and we're all going to swear fealty to Drea, who now is an empress, but we're going to work out a charter, yes, we all agree on the same things. Then the Elven Queen, Leanne. Now, first off, poor Leanne doesn't stand a chance. Like, Drea goes into her meeting with her with the absolute worst attitude you could have about anybody. Everyone says she's an ice queen. She's cold-hearted. She's mean. She's evil. Not that she's evil, but she's, you know, an ice queen. And she has turned away every suitor who's ever come to her, and blah, blah, blah. She just doesn't know how to love anybody, yada, 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 right? And so Drea goes into this meeting already bad-mouthing this woman. Bad-mouthing her. Goes into this meeting, and Leanne reveals that she's had visions since she was a child, that she is Drea's one and only, and that she is going to stand next to her and be at her side and replace Tassie, which makes Drea mad. She yells and screams at her and leaves, right? This sends Leanne into kind of a depressive state, and then, of course, Drea kind of realizes that maybe she overreacted. She needs to go talk to her, so she does. She goes and talks to her. They kind of work things out. Come to find out, Leanne is Drea's darkness. So, like, Tassie is her passion, Leanne is her darkness, Vena is her soul, and Ella is her humanity, right? So she's got 4. And come to find out, these are called Tari. She's got 4 Tari. Now, interestingly enough, she states that if the roles had been reversed between Vena and Tassie, that Vena probably would have come first. And later in the book, she then states that if the roles had been reversed between Leanne and Tassie, that Leanne would probably come first. So poor Tassie doesn't stand a chance. Like, Drea talks about how much she loves her, how much she cares about her, and she made all these promises to her, but the woman is easily replaced by everyone else who shows an interest. And then on top of that, the assassin that they saved, that they didn't end up killing, who ended up surviving, well, they rehabilitated her. Tassie rehabilitated her. And then the woman tells Drea that she has feelings for her and she's attracted to her too. Andrea's like, well, I already have 4 Atari. I can't take on anymore. And then it occurs to her, well, she's an elf, so she's going to outlive at least Cassie and Ella, and so eventually they'll have to be replaced. So she's keeping this woman in the wings, and I just am having said, I realize that in the game her charisma is like through the roof because she's a Centauri, and I get it. But it just makes it seem like every single woman in this world is into her, and that's not reality. You do not walk into a room and 5 out of 6 women, because that's how it is, because Broda is the only one that has never shown any interest in her at all. Ever. 5 out of 6 women are falling over themselves to be with this person. Like, that's not reality. It's irritating because it feels because of her nature. Nah. Not interested. So then, she decides that she's going to invite the Elven King who keeps trying to kill her, right? So invites him to her realm. He wants to see for himself what he's up against. He gets there. She does her whole, dog and pony show with the formal meeting and the gowns and her and Tassie together. And then he sits there and he reads her charter and he says, no, we're not going to do it. This is not going to work. I'm going to go to war. I don't want to. And before he can finish, one of his advisors stands up and stabs him in the head. Like, we had potential for a great war. Ended. Boring. Like, come on. But there are other realms. Okay, so there are other realms, right? So she sends ambassadors to the 2 horse realms. And they send the ambassadors' heads back in boxes. So now she does have to go to war. And she does go to war. And it's actually kind of interesting. And she defeats them. She defeats the one pretty easily because of, propaganda. And the other one, it takes a little bit more time, but she defeats them. And then on the way back, they get attacked by Beastkin, which are basically these combobulation of different species, different races all put together. And they have, no leaders. They just kind of attack and steal and kidnap, and they're a mess. And their sheer numbers are huge, and they come and they get her, and they have to fight them, and they end up fighting them and defeating them. But it's one of those things where it's a pretty close call. And that part is pretty cool. And she appoints 2 new kings to these, and then she invites, I guess, the realms that are left in this area. And of course, there's one that are islands. Well, you're not going to affect me. We don't have to do it. And so she goes to attack them. So there's a lot of battles here at the end of the book. And honestly, I feel like the book could have been 2. I feel like it was way too long of a book. I felt like we could have done the establishing of her realm first, and then the battles to pull the other realms in could have been a second book. Only because it just felt like it took so long. And then, yeah, sure, Bane, her Rossorian turns into a dragon, and that's really super cool. And her and her companions all get armor from the different gods and goddesses, and that's super cool. And there at the end, Nintai, one of the goddesses, claims her as her daughter, and explains to her that each god gave a piece of themselves to the barrier when the barrier was created, which then created her. And she looks like their mother, which is why they're also interested in her, but Nintai is claiming her as her child. And I found that really interesting, but man, I struggled with, and I guess when I look at adventure books, and I consider this an action adventure book, that I want to see the action. I want to see the stat points go up. I want to see the cool moves she gets to choose from, and I want to get to see her fight and be a badass, because she is a badass. And unfortunately, what we run into here and what we don't get is that she does not have that ability, that opportunity as often, and she. I get the love scenes. I get why they're there, kind of explaining how she uses her tendrils and the passion, and I understand that, but I could have done without him, to be perfectly honest. I honestly preferred to watch the way the relationships grew differently, and it turns out that Leanne is her Tariel, which is like more than a Tari. It's someone who is supposed to be her like everything. Which again, screw you, Tassie. Like, that's what I just felt like. This whole book was just a screw you, Tassie book. Like, seriously. But and unfortunately, for that reason, for many reasons, I'm not going to finish the series. I've decided that this is the last one in the series that I'm going to read, just because I don't think that I'm the target audience anymore. Like, I think I was the target audience for book 1, where it was more action, adventure, and more fun. I am not the target audience now, and it's just not something that I'm going to slog through anymore. But if this sounds like something you'd be interested in, with really good world building and lots of relationships and a main character that's very desirable, 100% recommend it. Alright? And I hope you guys enjoy it. Have a good day. See you later.